Hello students, welcome to the today's session of DNA dated 14th February 2026. Moving on to the first slide. So the top news articles for today are have the states gained from 16th Finance Commission. UPSC for the last 4 years have been continuously asking about 15th Finance Commission. Even if the Finance Commission's term is just 5 years, even then UPSC has been asking about it for last 4 years in an intermediate course, either in prelims or in mains. So in this case, with the 16th Finance Commission coming up with its own recommendations, this particular article gains an higher importance. Moving to the second article, which is also a very important article, namely the newer consumer price index has a changed base year of 2024. So we have found retail inflation at 2.75% with according to the new CPI with a changed base year of 2024. So this article also gains importance. Moving to the third article, which is a very interesting article wherein scientists have found out that bacteria can talk or communicate within each other to coordinate certain tasks. Seems interesting, right? So we will also see about what is the provision function or the mechanisms through which bacteria can connect with each other. This is very expected news that has been going throughout the week. There has been notice for removal of the speaker, which becomes very important concerning the static portion of GS, wherein the procedure regarding how to remove speaker, what is the process followed in it. We will see about all that in detail. Then comes the article concerning AGRISTACK, where recently Finance Minister NIRMALA SITHARAMAN has said that it will become the UPI for farmers in the future. So we will see how important AGRISTACK is in the functioning of daily lives of the farmers. Moving on to the first article. So have states gained from the 16th Finance Commission? Recently the 16th Finance Commission submitted its report for the time period 2026 to 31. And the Union government has accepted its recommendations and the tax devolutions stated in the 16th Finance Commission's report. So we will see about how, as I said before, for the last 4 years, either in prelims or in mains, UPSC has consistently been asking about the devolution powers, what is income distance, or terms, concepts and the recommendations of Finance Commissions continuously in either prelims or mains. In this context, we will see about what are the recommendations of 16th Finance Commission, what are the constitutional background or provisions concerning Finance Commission. Moving on to the next slide. So India, we are first going to see about the constitutional framework of fiscal federalism. Particularly, we will see about Article 270 and 280 of the Constitution. So, as stated before, 270 provides for distribution of the net tax proceeds between the center and the state. What does this mean? The central divisible tax pool. From center's fund will be divided between several states. So this amount or this fund is called as net tax proceeds of the center. So who decides how much to be devolved to the states, what is the procedure regarding it is mentioned in Article 280, where you need a Finance Commission to be constituted every 5 years by the President to recommend how this distribution should take place. So this is mandated by Article 280. So as we saw now, this tax pool, for the first question that should come to your mind is, what does this tax pool contain of? So this tax pool contains income tax, both the corporation tax and the personal income tax, and CGST along with IGST. So all these put together are found in this central tax pool. However, what is not there in the tax pool? Cess and surcharge levied by the center and the cost of collection is deducted from the central tax pool, because this stays with the center for development of funds and activities related to center's performance. So The recent gross tax revenue for 2025 states that 81% of the center's fund is going to, tax revenue is going to divisible pool, which is the amount excluding the cess and surcharge. This is a recent UPSC might ask prerogative, meaning the trend based question from it rather than a factual question from it. So, you can kindly remember this point. So, why is this important? This distinction has always been the basis for all debates regarding fiscal federalism in India. How much is being devolved to states, how much do the states need, what is the interest or the amount of the center that amount of the center that has been devolved to the state. So, this is the concepts around which fiscal federalism debates evolve in India. Also, grants in aid. Apart from the central divisible pool fund that is being devolved, other than the central fund devolved, center can also give in grant in aid. So, we will see about what are the constitutional provisions regarding grants in aid. So, under Article 275(1), Parliament might give such assistance to certain states based on their demand by a specific law. This is what is mentioned in Article 275(1), but until such a provision is made, that is, Parliament has to make a law for itself under 275(1) so that it can do the following function. But since till now this function has not been made, the Article 275(2) confers the power of the Parliament to the President by order to make such statutory grant needs. So, the President under Article 275(2) considers the Finance Commission's recommendation before providing such grant needs, and it is the duty under Article 283 that the Finance Commission has to give the recommendations to the recommendations or the guiding principles to the President, so that he can by order enact such grant needs to the required states. So, kindly remember, we have seen about 270, which talks about net tax proceeds. We have seen about 280, which elucidates the establishment or the constitution of Finance Commission, and we have also seen about 275 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 and 3, wherein it states Parliament has the power under its assistance to provide funds to the states. However, since such law has not been made, the power of the Parliament lies with the President, who by order can grant statutory grants in aid to the required states on the principles or recommendations that he or she gets from the Finance Commission. This is the concept behind grant and aids. Moving on to the next slide. So, we have seen about the constitutional provisions of the 16th Finance Commission. So, moving on to the recommendations of the present 16th Finance Commission. The share of states, as I said, central divisible tax pool is a particular percentage of overall center's revenue. So, the share of states, but the amount to be given to the states from the divisible tax pool is determined as 41% in this present Finance Commission, which is equal to the, which is very similar, that is 41% was given by the 15th Finance Commission too. So, what is the reason for maintaining the same share of amount to be given to the states in the divisible pool is because of these three reasons. One, states itself predominantly have a great or a substantial share of total tax revenues. Second, much of the union spending in the terms of centrally sponsored scheme is routed to the states so that they can spend and implement the following schemes. And the third one is the union requires higher resources for defense and infrastructure. So, these two reasons are why more amount is not given to states, and this is a reason why union is retaining the amount with itself. So, the commission also acknowledged that to increase the efficiency and growth contributions, the recognition should be given to the proportional state, meaningly the states which contribute more to the GDP of the country should be incentivized more so that they get more assistance from the Finance Commission in this particular thing. So, this has become a new criteria in 16th Finance Commission. So, we will compare the parametrical difference between 15th Finance Commission and the 16th Finance Commission. So, first parameter is income distance. What is income distance? Income distance formula is every state, if you have to find an income distance of a particular state, you have to calculate the GS, gross state domestic product. So, to find the income distance of a particular state, you have to find the per capita gross state domestic product of a state, which should be deducted with the top 3 states per capita GST. So that you will find the state's income distance, that is how how much it is earning in differential terms from the topmost state. For example, if a particular state A earns 1 rupee and B earn 2 rupee and the top 3 states earn 10, 11 and 12 rupee as a GSDP per capita, then A's income distance will be 9 rupees when compared with the top 3 states. So, this is how you earn income distance. This shows the performance in terms of economy of a particular state. So, this has been reduced in the particular 16th Finance Commission. Also, population has been given an increased priority because this will benefit the largely populated states in the central and northern India. Demographic performance, that is population reduction activities of state, family planning, contraceptives, TFR control. This is called demographic performance. So, this has also been disincentivized, which will affect, this will benefit central Indian states or northern Indian states, and this will affect northeastern and southern states because they were following family planning programs intensively in the 80s and 90s. Also, area has been given a reduced percentage because there is no meaning funding states which have sparsely populated arena but a large area. So, this is an unduly parameter. Also, for forest remains the same, but the calculation or category of forest has been condued to mediumly dense or densely forest rather than sparsely dense forest. So, 2 parameters are given more priority in forest even if the percentage stays. Tax and fiscal efforts of the state have been completely incentivized to 0. Also, as I told you before, states contribution to GDP has become a new factor and has been given 10%, which shows that states like Maharashtra, Gujarat and Tamil Nadu might get a better incentive from the government than before due to their high economic performance over the past. So, remember, UPSC might focus definitely on this arena in some way or other. So, we have seen the trend of it, what constitutes it, and the change in parameter from 15th Finance Commission to 16th Finance Commission. Generally, grants in aid, the Finance Commission tells the principle concerning the grants in aid and rarely specifies the amount to be spent over or transferred over in the category of grant in aid. But 16th Finance Commission has also recommended the amount to be devolved under the heading of grant in aid. So, remember, no need to remember the number per se, but we can remember that 16th Finance Commission specified the amount to be recommended under the heading of grant in aid. So, what are the categories under which 16th Finance Commission has recommended for telling grant in aid? Urban and rural local bodies, they need grant in aid, and disaster management need grants in aid. Okay, so what do we have to remember? There are certain categories which were discontinued with respect to the 15th Finance Commission. So, compared to 15th, these categories have been discontinued. What are those categories? Revenue deficit grants, sector specific grants and state specific grants have been discontinued, and the present Finance Commission sticks to urban and rural local bodies and disaster management based grant in aid. So, this you have to remember because this is a highly possible prelims question. Also, when let's see these two parameters in detail. The commission has recommended disaster management corpus of 2 lakh crores for SDRF and SDMF, which is in the pattern of 90 by center and 10 by northeastern states for in the northeastern and Himalayan states, and 75-25 for all other states. Also, for grants for the local bodies, the 16th Finance Commission has recommended grants worth 4 lakh crores for rural area, more for rural area, and 3.6 lakh crore for the urban areas respectively. These grants are divided into basic parameterless grant and performance based. 20% of the grants will be given on performance of specific local self-government bodies. Apart from the principles for fiscal devolution and principles for grants to be given, the Finance Commission has also constituted certain fiscal roadmaps to be followed by the centre and the state governments. So, the Commission has recommended centre should bring down the fiscal deficit to 3.5% of the GDP by 2031. This is a numerical value you have to remember, can use as a value addition in mains also, and the states also have to have their fiscal deficit to be 3% of their GSDPs. Also, they are discontinuing the practice of off-budget borrowings for the states and bringing down all such borrowings onto their own budget. So, there will be no more off-budget borrowing in the upcoming budgets. Other small recommendations include active privatization of the discoms in certain states, thorough review of who are the beneficiaries of certain schemes that provide unconditional cash transfer to have large and untargeted beneficiaries. Also, it has recommended for closure of 308 inactive state PSCs. One of my favorite recommendation is it recommends the union government to disclose the data of how much is the net proceeds that we talked about under Article 270 to be made public, and remember this is that net tax proceeds is certified by the CAG under Article 279. So, this amount, the net tax proceeds which is being certified under Article 279 will be under Article 279 will be made public before devolving. So, remember this. Moving on to the next slide. Retail inflation at 2.75% in the new consumer price index, which has 2024 as the base year. So, this becomes a phenomenon, as 16th Finance Commission is a very important news with respect to polity. This is a very landmark pointer for prelims that UPSC might ask with respect to economy. So, in this case, the base year was 2012 when calculating CPI for the country. Now, they have shifted to 2024 as the base year, and with this the first set of inflation data for the country has come at around 2.75%. So, what is the change for this necessary revision in base year is because compared to 2012 levels, the consumption behavior, market structures, household expenditure patterns have changed, and this has been captured by HCES, Household Consumption Expenditure Survey 23-24. So, these parameters have changed according to HCES survey, and this necessitated for the change in base year from 2012 to 2024. So, this is the reason why it came in news. So, we will see about the basics of CPI, what has changed in the new base year, what are the challenges of it and the benefits of it. So, moving on to the next slide. So, why a new CPI series is required? Indian economy has undergone structural transformation over the past decade, 2012 to 2024, more than a decade, but we are referring to the particular decade, which is the major reason for this is the share of services in our life has increased, digital based consumption has increased, we are shifting from traditional fuels to cleaner fuels, and our daily lifestyle from traditional mindset to modern mindset has induced changing food patterns, and marketplaces have gone from standard level to online marketplaces. So, this necessitates a need for a newer CPI. Also, the CPI aligns with current consumption realities, thereby it is easy for RBI's MPC Monetary Policy Committee, Fiscal Policy Calibration, and wage related, welfare scheme related, and GDP deflation related. So, any change in CPI with an older thing will not properly reflect the parameters noted below. So, the overall national accounts may be deflected or deviated due to an erstwhile CPI base parameter. Now, since the change in base parameter reflects the change in modern economy, we necessitate a new CPI series. So, going for the basics of it, CPI is the primary inflation measure for RBI's MPC, which targets inflation to be 4% plus or minus 2%. That is, it can be a bandwidth from 2% to 6%, with 4% being the optimum inflation. And this CPI is primarily used for dearness allowance. Dearness allowance is intended to be reduced in the 8th pay commission, but since 7th pay commission is predominantly being followed, even if 8th pay commission is announced but not yet implemented, DA still remains as important point. So, coming back to the basics, CPI is used for dearness allowance, poverty estimation in India, real income calculation, and welfare transfers. So, CPI is necessary for RBI MPC's targeted inflation framework, and also for functional aspects of the government like DA revision, poverty estimation, real income calculation, welfare transfers, and so on. So, also food items weight in the weight as in number of baskets or number of items have reduced, and this might provide a clearer inflation signal because the price of food is volatile in India. So, the two reasons for significance of the change in CPI reflects monetary and fiscal policy importance, because it will help in these functions mentioned below, and it will help in a clearer inflation projection than before. So, what are the changes in the new CPI? As I told you before, the base year has changed from 2012 to 2024, ensuring contemporary relevance. Also, there are 12 consumption divisions added according to an international classification. What is a classification? Classification of individual consumption according to purpose. So, not everybody's consumption expenditure can be patterned or grouped into certain groups. Since consumption expenditure has become very varied and hyper leveled across different classes in India, this international classification COI COP 2018, if you want, go and read, and if you are really interested, go and read how COI COP value, taste, and disposable income of a country. So, these three parameters can be reflected by following this international classification called COI COP. Also, more divisions are added so that people can be branched into, expenditure can be branched into more parameters. The number of items, as usual, any change in any economic related calculation index will have in the number of items to be changed. So as in the number of services has increased from 40 to 50, and the number of goods have increases from 308 to 259. So, this is based on the modern consumption patterns that has changed over the last particular decade. What are the new items added? Rural house rent. Surprisingly, in the last CPA, the rural housing was always considered to be not an expenditure monthly, because it was Indian government believed rural household to be rent free. Either you are on lease or you are owning the building per se. It is the urban concept where rent is a out of pocket expenditure for the consumer. So, for the first time, rural housing rent has been introduced in the new CPA. Also, online media and streaming services have become important because we shell a lot of money to OTT services and other arenas. Dairy products have become a great part of our diet, so this also finds inclusion. Barley and related products like oat and other lifestyle products have also become important. Pen drives, external hard disk, and data, which are were very feeble in 2012 but have gained supra importance in 2024. All the computer related stuffs, all babysitter services and attendance services, which in rural and urban places have become easy, necessity, luxury, and all, and will find its importance in expenditure of the consumers. So it is found in both rural and urban areas. Excess equipment, again another neo-transitional lifestyle byproduct. And as I said you before, from in compared to 2012, due to government schemes, due to lot of incentives given by government, we have changed it to cleaner fuels like CNG and PNG. So this is also contributing to one of the items being changed in the CPI. Also, we will see the removed items in a fast forward mode. You will understand why they are removed items. VCR, VCD, DVD, tape recorders, radio, CD, cassettes, second hand clothing, coir rope, reflecting technology. So this reflects technology and obsolescence and lifestyle shift. These are products we are no longer using. Okay. Moving on to the next slide. Also, we are one more functional aspect of this. We are focusing on more rural markets than before and more urban markets than before. So the data sample space of the particular data will be more. This series also connects data not only from traditional marketplaces but also from 12 online marketplaces. Inclusion of online marketplaces and platform as a consideration arena glorifies this new CPI. So don't think that if UPSC asks a statement wherein if online marketplaces are also included in CPI, remember this point. This is a high probable question. Also, since we have seen items added, what are the data, where is the data collected from, how wide it is. Now we will see how the weight structure changes. Food and beverage, even on being the highest, largest component, but the weight has reduced from 45% to 36%. This will give the inflation of, just a minute. So headline inflation is the overall inflation in the economy, including all the products. But if you minus the food part, the food beverages part and the fuel part of it, then you will get the core inflation of the major products in India. So since the weight in the weight of food in the particular headline inflation is reduced, therefore the volatility of the final inflation product that we receive is comparatively less volatile than before. So reduction of weight in food prices, food percentage as a weight, reduction of weight in food process has reduced the volatility of the final CPI that we arrive at. Also, housing weight has been increased from 10 to 7 due to the inclusion of rural rent as we saw before, and also the water, electricity and the gas part that is newly being counted. What are the challenges and the way forward? Comparability issue. You have a series A, you have a series B. This has a new parameter. So the years in between calculated, the CPI calculated in between years should be changed according to the new parameter. This is called back series data. I will repeat. There was a base year 2012. There is a base year 2024. So the new base year 2024 used the CPI. Now we have to find the CPI of the interim 12 years, and this new data is called back series data. So this break in time series complicates long term analysis of, we have to find the back series data and it will take a lot of time. So we have to find the long term analysis of the change in India's parameter in terms of economics. Data consistency. Linking factor may not be perfectly replicating the old series. So any data change in parameter will affect the data involved. Also food weight reduction debate. India is predominantly a lower middle income economy where food serves as the primary out of pocket expenditure. In this sense, reducing the weight of the food products and the change in inflation might impact the welfare of what they receive significantly. Also rural representation concerns. Despite expansion of rural and adding certain products like items like rural rent and everything, informal consumption may still be out of the sample space that we are talking about. Also the final thing is online price volatility, wherein price in the online platforms may keep changing, and this might improve the real time digital price collection systems. So this might affect the final data. Conclusion. So what do I tend to say from this overall change in CPI is, this marks a crucial reform in India's statistical architecture. How? Because the new inflation measurement will include the contemporary consumption pattern change, and we are also integrating the international standards in it. However, maintaining continuity, credibility and transparency will be essential to ensure that India's CPI remains one of the most trusted parameters regarding macroeconomics of the country. So this is just not a statistical update, but it is a recalibration of how India measures the cost of living in a transforming economy even within a decade. Moving on to the next slide. So moving on to the third topic, bacteria can talk to each other and are multilingual. So this is one interesting topic, wherein have you ever imagined a group of bacteria attacking a human or any host can interact between each other so that they can have a cooperative defense or an offensive mechanism. I was surprised reading that article. So we'll see the basics of, maybe UPSC might ask the what is this term recently seen in news wala question regarding it. Here to be, we'll see the underlying mechanism behind it so that you will easily remember the concept involved. So the mechanism through which these bacteria coordinate and communicate with each other is known as quorum sensing. In polity, you will know what is quorum, the minimum strength required to achieve something. So here also there is a minimum strength of bacteria which is required to sense and coordinate so that they can cooperate between themselves. So this is as I explained now, this is a mechanism by which bacteria regulate gene expression, the way they coordinate, the way they perform certain things due to population density through use of signal molecules. So if these 4 bacteria have to coordinate on a particular action, like attack this A, so they will start secreting a particular enzyme called signal molecule, also known as autoinducers. So as soon as as the definition says, there should be an increased population density so that more autoinducers are released or secreted into the environment. As soon as the secreted enzyme comes in a sizable quantity, the bacteria starts sensing it and they activate corresponding genes so that they can perform a particular behavior. For example, this can be detected by this bacteria, this can be detected by this bacteria. So this can be detected and they all know the common task that they are going to do, for example, to attack A, and this particular gene expression is triggered by the secreted enzyme, that is the autoinducer that we are talking about. So that they all combined communicate so that they can attack an A. So this is called as quorum sensing, that you need a particular strength of organism so that they can secrete an enzyme which comes in a sizable quantity approached by the nearby microorganism so that they all can perform a similar task or a coordinated event. So going by the definition, bacteria has a mechanism which regulates gene expression according to its population density through the use of signal molecules. I think now you will understand better. So the quorum sensing allows the bacteria population to communicate and coordinate group behavior and is commonly used among pathogens in terms of disease and infection process when it approaches the host. So this was first found by in 1960s by a microbiologist called Alexander Thomas, while studying pneumococcus in its own environment. So standard quorum sensing has 3 patterns. One, the bacteria should be in a sizable population, it should secrete signal molecules, and it should have receiving genes and behave in a particular particular pattern. So, as I told you before, the signal molecules are known as autoindices when they are secreting in a sizable quantity. After reaching to a concentration threshold in the environment, the molecules become detectable to the secreted molecules become detectable to the bacteria population, and then activate corresponding response genes, so that they can do performed activities like virulence, horizontal gene transfer, some form of security in terms of biofilm formation, or competence, the ability to take up DNA. So, since many of these processes are effective only at certain population size, quorum sensing is a key behavior coordination mechanism in many microorganisms. Although it is common among bacteria, the precise sensing system and the class of how much quorum is needed, what enzyme will give you what activity, differs amongst different microorganisms. For example, Pseudomonas aerogonus, which can cause pneumonia and blood infection, use this coordinated mechanism to cause diseases. So, UPSC might ask, what is quorum sensing recently seen in news? You should know that it is the coordinated act due to secretion of enzymes and detection of enzymes between microorganisms, so that they can do a particular task on a by a host organism. So, this is being called in scientific arenas as communication and bilingual coordination between multilingual coordination between organisms. Moving on to the next slide. Opposition MPs submit notice seeking removal of Om BIRLA as speaker. So, this has been in news for the last 1 week, wherein opposition MPs want to remove the present sitting speaker through by giving a notice, and which will become a resolution and which will come into voting. So, we will see all the procedures regarding the removal of speaker in this article. Removal of Lok Sabha speaker. What is the constitutional provision? So, Lok Sabha speaker can be removed from the office not by will and choices, but only through a strict constitutional process. So, what is a constitutional process? Under Article 94C of the Constitution, removal is possible only through a resolution passed by majority of the then members of the House. So, then members is nothing but, in polity terms, or Lakshmikant calls it, effective majority. So, what is effective majority? Effective majority is nothing but 50% of the House plus 1 of LS strength What is that strength we are talking about? Total membership minus vacancy in the House. So, what is effective majority or the then members as mentioned in 94C of the Constitution? That effective majority means there should be more than there should be an absolute majority of the LS strength wherein vacancy of the present House has to be detected. What is vacancy? Not absence but unfilled seats due to death or resignation. This has to be minus from the total membership of the House. The overall quantity may, there should be an absolute majority. This is called as effective majority, and this is used in the removal of presiding officers. So, this applies to Lok Sabha particularly in detail because we are talking about removal of speaker. So, remember effective majority, what is effective majority, and the constitutional article regarding removal of speaker. Moving to the next slide. Article 94 also states that speaker or deputy speaker should vacate the office due to 3 conditions. One, Article 94A, which says automatically when the membership of membership as a Lok Sabha MP expires or ceases, he has to vacate from the office of speaker. This is cessation. Resignation is 94B, where he might give a notice at any time by submitting a written resignation. He might resign at any time from the office. Also, removal by resolution, that is what we are talking about, using the then members have to give a absolute majority and he might be removed from the office. So, these 3 are the provisions where how a Lok Sabha speaker can be removed or he needs to vacate from the office. Moving On to the next slide. How does this happen? A particular member A has to first give a notice to Secretary General of Lok Sabha. Then the notice may be, after some time, the notice may be signed by 2 or more members, and this will give a initiation of resolution in the House. The initiation of resolution can from the date of notice cannot be less than, so has to be less than equal to 14 days. So the date of notice and the date of resolution should have a gap period of 14 days. So the date on which the removal of speaker must happen must be any day after the 14-day notice period, following which House might determine what has to be done to that particular motion for removal of the speaker as per the rules of the House. So this is the procedure of, remember, the first notice has to go to Secretary General of the Lok Sabha, then 2 or more members can jointly sign this, and the resolution cannot be moved before 14 days of the pass of the notice. So these are the things you have, procedural things you have to remember regarding removal of speaker in the Lok Sabha. So we will also see some history regarding it. What are the past precedents of this is being wrongly quoted in paper, kindly concern it as removal of speaker. I purposefully put this so that don't consider NCM of speaker. There is no concept of no confidence motion on the speaker. No confidence motion is put on the sitting government. So removal of speaker against Lok Sabha. So we will see certain history or past precedents of, has there been any initiation regarding removal of speaker. So this there has been removal process initiated in 1954, 66 and 1987. 54 on G.V. Mavlankar, the first speaker, 66 on Hukam Singh, who was a speaker at 1966 Lok Sabha, and Balram Jakkar at 1987 concerned Lok Sabha. So in all these 3 cases, the motion filed and none of the speakers were removed from office. So till date there has been no successful removal of speaker from the Lok Sabha of India. Also, the procedure regarding how the removal should happen is mentioned in rules 200 to 203 of the rules of procedures and conduct of business in Lok Sabha, that is rules of Lok Sabha. Moving on to the next slide. In this slide, we are going to talk about AGRISTACK, and Finance Minister recently termed it as the next UPI for farmers. All transactions, subsidies, all benefits and the inputs and outputs done by farmers can be tracked, monetized and accounted for through AGRISTACK. So, before, as we have come to the fag end of the video, all these 5 topics are highly important topics for prelims, and kindly comment in the comment box that what are the possible questions that can be asked from these 5 topics. Moving on to that, we will see in this AGRISTACK in detail. AGRISTACK is a digital public infrastructure, government's infrastructure in digital format to be used by the public for the farm sector. So it was an initiative launched under Digital Agriculture Mission and was approved by Cabinet in September 2024. So why it became a news now? Because government wants to use it in full-fledged now, even if it was introduced in 2024. So it has 3 registries. One, farm registry. Second is geo-referenced village maps. And third is crop zone registry. So this will be, I will see what are those 3 registries. So these 3 registries will, as Agri is a state or a center subject, obviously, and state subject. So Agri is a state subject. So all these 3 datas will be created and maintained by the state government or the respective union territories, but not at the central level. Even if union territories has central interference, it is created at the local level because it is predominantly a state subject and a very local inferent thing. So under AGRISTACK, farmers are given digital identities, farmer ID. So as I talked to you before, we will talk before talking about this. We tended to introduce 3 things: farmer registry, crop zone registry and geo-referenced village maps. Georeference village map is nothing about who owns what amount of land in what latitude and longitude, that is georeferenced village maps. Farmer registry is all details about the farmer, and he will be given a digital identity somewhere similar to Aadhaar or ABA. If you have known ABA, you can go and refer the health account, and there is ABA and Aadhaar. You can go kindly also refer to. I am vouching out for similar questions that UPSC might ask. So, this is for students, this is for health registry. So, in this sense, under AGRISTACK, farmers are given digital identities, that is something similar to farmer ID, which will link their data dynamically to already present data in state records under their name, which will also account for livestock ownership of the livestock present in their farm, crops sown in their farm, demographic details of them and their family, family details, schemes availed and benefits used. So, for example, if a farmer wants to use Kisan credit card, then his transaction or fertilizers bought through Kisan credit card will automatically be updated to this primary identity concerning him. So, every transaction, every subsidy availed, every benefit, what, how many chickens, cattle or cow he has, and what are the land records of him, all will be tied to this farmer ID. So, what is the object of tying so much of a big data to particular targeted beneficiaries? Because we intend to create digital identities for 11 crore farmer, and we want them to access benefits and services digitally too. So, the center aims to complete farm registry for other states before March 2027 and for northeastern states by March 2028. Moving on to crop sown registry, it has the details of the crops planted by the farmers. So, this is recorded through, how does a farmer record? You can install a mobile based digital crops survey, which will quantify and qualify the crops present in your particular land. So, this changes on the ground per every season, and schemes like Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana and MSP can be tied to crop sown registry, so that we will know the crops that a farmer has, and we can predict the buffer stock even before farmer comes to the MSP station to avail his MSP. Third, we are talking about georeferenced village maps. As I told you before, this has the geographical information of a particular farmer's land records in terms of latitude linked with the location, that is latitude and longitude. For example, PM Kisan, I am telling you applications of certain scheme through AGRISTACK. So, remember how a scheme is there, how AGRISTACK is there, and all agricultural schemes are related to the particular AGRISTACK. They take data from there, but use it for different purposes. So, I am saying what registry will benefit what scheme. So, particularly georeference village maps data registry will benefit PM Kisan, because if you have either there is a crop in your land or no crop in your land due to the particular season, you will get installment from PM Kisan just by showing proof that this particular village georeferenced village map shows that you have A has a land a particular random latitude. So, but in a particular latitude and longitude, A has a land and he is eligible to get incentive under PM Kisan or not. This can be facilitated by data from this georeference village map data. So, the target is to cover all villages in India by March 2027. So, moving on to the final part of it, comment possible questions that can be asked from these 5 topics in the comment box, because these 5 are high probable questions that might come from this week's current affairs. Thank you for listening to the session. Hope you enjoyed the session.